I'm going to show you how to install a Eurogaming SimShifter on a Logitech shifter and a Thrustmaster TH8A. We're going to get started with the Logitech shifter. You're going to need a couple tools. First off, a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver, and then there's an Allen key provided with the kit that you're going to need in a moment. We'll start off with the flathead screwdriver. You're going to gently place it underneath the edge of that top medallion and pry it gently all the way around till it pops off. And that is going to expose a hole at the top of the shifter where you're going to find a Phillips screw. And you'll take the Phillips screwdriver, go right down into that hole and loosen up that screw until it is no longer attached. All right, you can take that screw right out and the knob will lift right off, exposing the chrome shaft from the shifter. Now you're going to take the adapter, and I've gone ahead and I've marked the bottom of the adapter with a marking. It's a black marking, and it's also engraved a little bit. That black marking should face away from you, should face forward away from you when you install this, and you'll notice that the adapter will slide right on. There's going to be 2 Allen screws on there, and you'll use the Allen key to tighten those up. So you should start with them a little bit loose, just so you have enough room to be able to get this onto the shifter. So you'll slide this on all the way in. Make sure that that black marking is facing away from you, and you're going to tighten up these 2 Allen screws. And just got to be careful to not over tighten them. The mounting adapter is aluminum and the set screws are stainless steel, so it's going to be easy to over tighten them if you push it too hard. So just be gentle with it. You may have to go back and make some adjustments. You may also have to retighten these at some point down the line, but it's not that big a deal. You're going to take the shifter and hold up your wiring and stuff. You don't want to have this plugged in yet. And you're going to go ahead and screw this right onto that adapter. It's all nice matching thread, so it screws on very easy. You're going to screw this in until it ends, which should have your shifter pointing in the right direction. Now we'll go through the process on a Thrustmaster TH8A. There are really no tools required for this one on most situations, but some people might need a pair of pliers. I would recommend wrapping them up in electrical tape or a soft rag or something like that to prevent damage in case you needed it to grab onto that shaft. But for the most part, if you hold on to that lower shaft firmly and then you just grab a hand on the shifter knob and unscrew it counterclockwise, it should come right off. But I have seen some where the knob is attached to that chrome shaft pretty well, and it'll actually unscrew the chrome shaft from the shifter. So if that's the case on yours, you may want to just hold on to it with a pair of pliers. Like I said, just protect it so that it doesn't damage the chrome. And just like on the Logitech, you're going to want to take that black marking, make sure it's pointed away from you, and install that right onto the shifter. Now, the Logitech shifter shaft goes a little bit further into the adapter as it is bored with a second inner diameter on that adapter. There are 2 inner diameters, so it'll work with both Logitech and Thrustmaster. So once you have it on there with that marking facing away from you, once again, you're going to take the Allen key and tighten up those 2 Allen screws, and that will hold it nice and firm right onto the Thrustmaster TH8A. If you've optioned an extension that I'm providing for you, or you can get these from any truck store, these are legit truck extensions. Those will thread right onto the adapter, and you don't need to use the marking at this point because we're going to install this right onto the shifter. And now, because it's not like tucked up into the shifter, you can actually install this with everything in place on the shifter itself without having to line up any of the markings or anything, because it's all accessible. It's all outside of the shifter right now. So install it all, get everything nice and snug into the shifter itself, and then install it onto the Thrustmaster or the Logitech, and then go ahead and tighten up your set screws. Because of all the differences in manufacturing from one shifter to another, and from the extensions to the shifters, these set screws are always going to end up in a different location depending on which combination you're using. So it's impossible to say that they're always going to point in a particular way. So yeah, nice and firm, nice and snug, everything's going to stay put. And you know, you can adjust it, fine tune it if you need to, and if anything does ever loosen up down the line, you can always go ahead and just retighten those set screws. But otherwise, it's nice and snug. Let's get this thing set up in the game now. So make sure you're in the profile you want to use. And at the bottom, you want to click on that gear that says options. That's going to bring us into all of the game controller settings and mapping. At the bottom, you'll hit controls. And now this is where we can actually set the game to recognize your new Eurogaming SimShifter. So at the top, you'll have your steering wheel and other shifters and any other controllers. Then at this bottom drop down, you'll want to select the generic USB joystick. That USB joystick is going to be the controller for your shifter, your new SimShifter. So select that, make sure it's all picked there. You're going to move over here and select the H shifter from the transmission drop down. Make sure that that's picked. You're going to scroll down all the way, just about all the way, till we get to the point where it has the shifter layout. You're going to choose that as an Eaton Fuller 18 speed. The behavior, you're going to switch to advanced. And then the shifter fast split advanced only, you're going to switch to clutch or pedal if it's not defaulted to that. Now here is where things are going to get a little more challenging. We're going to map out all of the different positions from your Logitech or Thrustmaster. And people get confused. They want to map this out already as if it's an 18 speed, but it's not. We're still mapping this out as a traditional game shifter. So select reverse, put your shifter into the reverse position. Select first, put it into the first position. Select second, put it into the second position. And you're going to do third gear and fourth gear as well as fifth and sixth. Now shifter toggle 1 and 2 are actually the front selector and side splitter on your SimShifter. So start by placing them in the down position on the front selector and the back position on the side splitter before you do any of these. And you're going to map shifter toggle 1 to the front selector, the range selector, by flipping it up, then down. And then you're going to select shifter toggle 2. Click on shifter toggle 2, and now you're going to do your side splitter forward and backwards. So that would be like high back to low. Now this game expects your functions to work like a keyboard, like you're pressing a button. So for high and low and the splitter and selector, we have to select this little box here, shifter toggles use switch mode. Make sure that's check marked, and that's going to allow the shifter, splitter and selector to work as normal. Now, you don't need to do anything with those bottom choices. Everything else here is good to go. Now that we've got that all squared away, we're going to go ahead and click keys and buttons at the bottom. And this is going to bring us into the mapping for all of the other functions in the game. And this is where we're going to set up the engine brake or your Jake brake. So in the game, it's engine brake and engine brake toggle. If you happen to have something mapped there, click the unassigned button and click the right column related button to engine brake or engine brake toggle. You can literally map it to any of these functions, but engine brake and engine brake toggle are the Jake brake that people are going to use these buttons for mostly. The engine brake is only going to use the Jake brake when you're pressing the button, and the engine brake toggle is going to turn it on when you press the button, leave it on until you press the button again, which then will shut it off. So some people want to keep that Jake brake on all the time. You can use engine brake toggle for that, or you can use engine brake and have it on only when you're pressing the button, which is kind of the way I like to do it myself. But you can literally map this to any other function in the game, literally from cameras to lift axles. A lot of people are using these for push to talk now when you're using Convoy. So you can map it for any function, but it can only be mapped to one function. So keep that in mind. If you have it set to the Jake brake, you can't use it for anything else. Now let's get into the game and go for a ride. All right, now we're going to do a quick run through the gears, showing you how this is going to work. Just real quick before we get going down the road here, just to show you where the gears are. So what used to be first gear is now going to be your reverse. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, it shows reverse 1 low. So you have reverse 1 low, reverse 1 high, then you'll have reverse 2 low and reverse 2 high. So those are going to be higher and higher speed, going from reverse 1 low to reverse 1 high to reverse 2 low to reverse 2 high, depending on whatever it is you're doing. If you are running heavy and you have a hard time taking off, you may want to use this position to get started. This is low, 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 high. These are technically the first 2 gears. So down to the left, and then splitter back for low, low, splitter forward for low, high. If you're not running that heavy or you have some good horsepower, you don't need to use low, low, and low, high because you barely get moving at all with those. You can go right to first gear, which is what used to be third on your shifter. Okay, so this is first low, first high. Okay, for second low, second high, third low, third high, and fourth low, fourth high. Okay, these 2 spots down at the end, what used to be number 7 and reverse, don't get used. Okay, now that's just, so 1, 2, 3, 4. If you flip up the range selector to the high position, now those are 5, 6, 7, and 8. And each of those also have a low and high, low and high, low and high. So we have 1 through 4 low and high, which is 8 gears. 5 through 8 low and high, which is another 8 gears, which is 16 gears. You have low, low, and low, high, which is 2 more gears. So that's going to give us 18 gears plus 4 reverse gears. So we can get complicated. Well, let's get this thing started. Do a little run down the road here. Okay, so just to show you how dramatic low, low, and low, high are. It's 5 miles an hour in low, low, 7 in low, high. Now we're in first low. Okay, so I can show you what it's like to start off right in first low without using the low, low. So we've only got 325 horsepower. Let's do that again. So this kind of doesn't really have enough power to start off in 1 low. Or 2 well anyways. 1 high. We're going to move right along through the gears. Let's turn that game sound down a little bit. Now I like to wind my gears out because I like to hear them, but you don't have to. Just gonna move right through the gears. Now we're at 4 high, so I can't go any more here. So now I need to move the splitter back to low, and I need to move the selector up to high. And come over here again. Now we're in 5 low. 5 high. Without a lot of power, you really got to use all of these gears. Okay, so let's get up to speed here, and then I'm going to change out the engine to an engine with more power, and show you what you can do if you have more power. It takes a minute to get going, though. This is only 300 horsepower. We are running a dump truck and trailer, so we have a little bit of weight behind us. So I got to use all the gears just to get us up to speed. We're barely going 50 miles an hour here. So I mean, it's pretty realistic, I guess, but you do have to use all of the gears. And when upshifting, I like to go into low if I'm going in this mode. Now, we haven't really talked about the Jake brake button yet. Okay, I have it mapped to engine brake, not engine brake toggle, so it's only going to work when I'm holding the button. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that Jake brake right now. Okay, ready? That will slow me down. If I release, it shuts off. If I press it, okay, you can downshift. And it'll help you slow down even more. So we'll go into game controller mapping, keys and buttons. And we're going to change that now to engine brake toggle. And we're going to go ahead and change that button to engine brake toggle now. Let's go back out. So now what that's going to do is it's going to turn the engine brake on. And it's going to stay on until I press the button again. We're just gonna skip a couple gears here, just kind of get us up to speed. And now I'm gonna press that button, and the engine brake stays on without me holding the button until I press it again. So that's engine brake toggle. Okay, it's working as if it's like a toggle switch on the dashboard. So press it. No jake brake until I press it, and then it stays on until I press it again. Some people like running that mode because it keeps the jake brake on all the time, the engine brake. All right, let's find some more power here. All right, so here we are with quite a bit more horsepower. We're over 1,000 horsepower now. So we're gonna start off in the, let's say, 1 high. We're gonna totally skip low, 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 high, and 1 low, and let's get this truck started up. So you can see how this thing moves right along. You don't have to split all the gears. But we've also got over 1,000 horsepower now. So let's go up into the higher set now. Let's get onto the lane. But you can see we're already going 55 miles an hour. As you get up towards the top of like the high gears, sometimes it's worth splitting just to keep the momentum going. And again, I like to redline my trucks. A lot of people don't. That's okay. Okay, and then now we're 1 gear away from 18th gear, which is 8 high. And all clear. Okay, so the engine brake is off. I'm gonna hit that button. And now we've got our engine brake running, slowing us down. And I'm gonna downshift. I hit the button again, it shuts it off. And again, this is on engine toggle, engine brake toggle. If you go too low, you can blow it up. Sounds like it, but it won't. That's essentially it. When you go into a repair garage, just reset everything back to low on the side splitter and low on the front selector. The game doesn't always recognize that you're in those higher settings, so just automatically by default put them back to low when you come to a stop, and you should be good to go. Thanks for watching. Be sure to message me with any questions you have. You can email me at eurogamingyeah@gmail.com. Be sure to visit my Facebook page, where I've got a ton of content and photos and all sorts of kinds of info at facebook.com/eurogamingfb, and visit my site at eurocrafts.com. See ya!